Welcome back. My name's Adrian.
My name's Aaron.
And this is 2teachone.
2teachone.
Yes.
So we are back for
Part 2.
Right of the
Part 2.
Part deux.
Deux.
I believe is how the French say it.
I don't want to offend.
Yeah,
I thought
exactly.
you were Mexican, man.
Dude, his names.
I was born in Texas.
Let me tell you something. This guy's all his names. If you just hear all his names in a line, there's no way. This face isn't what you see next.
Okay.
Yeah, it is so funny. I would tell people my name, and obviously I have no accent. Mm-hmm. And then I would show up, and people would like look at their paperwork again and be like, "You are Aaron Paul?" Like, yes, I am.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I am technically I am half Mexican, but third generation, and in Texas, that's pretty much just a common thing.
Yeah, it's everybody.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mixed with a little bit of Swedish, which is an interesting combination because I don't really like spicy food. And Adrian's like, yeah, it's like, that's strange because I'm like, oh, that's spicy. He's like, aren't you like, Mexican? I'm like, I am.
That's the Swede in you.
That's the Swede.
Yeah.
That's
Neutral.
exactly what I said.
Yeah, it is.
The most
Gotta be
neutral
neutral.
people.
Yep.
It's hilarious. Yeah, it's so funny.
This Thai place I go to specifically says on the front door, no Swedes allowed. You know what I mean?
You're kidding.
No, it says like Caucasian people do not eat Thai hot. That's what it says. Like,
That's what it
it
says?
says like not recommended for Caucasians.
They're like, we're tired of calling the ambulance. We're not going to do
Yeah,
this.
I
It's
couldn't
like
do it.
it's a legit Thai place here in Denver. And,
U.S., right?
yeah.
U.S.
Yeah,
Thai.
I could not.
Yeah, we have to go.
Have
we have
to.
to go. We
Yep.
have to go.
But we are about to continue the story of Brad, so we'll be cutting in at some point. So again, if it does sound stilted, that's because it is.
Yes.
And it's going to be an amazing story, and I urge you to listen to it. And, just thank you for Brad and Don being here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? If you didn't listen to the first part, please feel free to do so. You can go straight to the website. It's www.2teachone.com, and that is www.2teach1.com. Or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at TWOTEACHONE. And also on YouTube. You can find us there. I mean, we're not doing video just yet. That's coming up pretty soon, but the podcasts are on there as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's where you can find the first part.
All right. And now back to the episode.
Yeah. So after I made it out of phase 1 of this program,
Which is 28 days.
which is 28 days.
So 28 days plus the month that you had spent in hospital.
Yeah, but I wasn't clean while I was in the hospital, remember?
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's when you were having... okay.
I mean, I only
Delivery.
he only snuck it in once, but like,
Right.
it still don't
right.
count.
No, right.
Yeah, and I wasn't clean like leading up to getting there either.
Right.
But I relapsed right after the first 28 days. It didn't take within 24 hours, I was in the psych ward after spending a night in, psychosis, wandering through alleys on Colfax. And yeah, it'll be 3 years next Tuesday.
Wow.
That was my last relapse. And yeah, I don't know what it was about that time, but it was like...
No, I can see it in your eyes, man. So you walk in.
Yeah.
You walk into, the place.
Yep. To get my bag of shit.
To get your bag of stuff.
Yep.
You come in. You do not smell very nice because, you had been in alleys and stuff.
Yep.
You also have traces of blood on you.
Yep. Within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours, right? So,
Yep.
and here's the thing. So, bedside manner is really important, right? I'm trying to give everyone the exact same shot, right? Equal treatment. So he comes in and he's in this state, and I'm just looking, and I'm trying not to be too overt with, my reaction or anything like that, right? I'm just like, hey, what's up, man?
And not like, damn.
I mean, I definitely thought it for a second because I'm like, I don't know where you were, but there's traces, there's a story being told by, the state of you. Yeah, exactly. So I just remember speaking to you, and there was definitely something about the way you spoke, the look in your eyes. I don't know. It was, or maybe that's just the, same mesmerizing qualities that you possess today. But,
no, there was something
either way,
different for sure.
For sure.
Obviously, right?
And I think like the program realized that because I wrote a letter, to the staff and was like, hey,
and we spoke about it collectively.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
They told me.
Yeah.
And that was the only reason they allowed me back in such a short amount of time. You know?
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
normally you have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't just get to like, it's not a revolving,
No.
door type situation,
No. So I came back and I started doing the things they told me to do. And I stayed there for 5 months and then went on to like a sober living house for another year.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like I needed that slow progression
Yes.
back into the real world.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I knew even after 28 days, like I was just starting to scratch the surface of what was really going on.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
You don't use for, let's see, I had my 29th birthday in the first 30 days. So, 16, 17 years of drug use, and like in 30 days, just turn it around. Like it doesn't happen like that, you know?
No.
So I'm, I'll be forever grateful for that place. And, the separation that I was able to get from that life is the only way that I've been successful, is to leave that whole thing behind.
Yeah.
I don't talk to a single friend that I knew prior to getting clean.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only people I talk to are family, that I knew prior to when I came to that place.
Right. Right.
And I knew I couldn't go back to tattooing and stay clean. It's just, I know that there's clean tattoo artists out there. It's just, for me, it was part of that lifestyle.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now I work in the corporate world, and it's crazy. I mean, I was self-employed for 10 years, and now I've got like a group of 12 people working underneath me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
and a
that.
boss that expects you to get them to work.
My bosses are great.
That's cool.
They're so cool.
So they're going to be listening to this. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm just joking.
Hopefully, like, the people that work under me don't hear it. Get back to fucking work, I swear. I've got some challenging cases right now, man. This one girl, she won't even, like, acknowledge that I'm speaking to her.
You told me about this guy.
Like, literally, she's got her headset on, and I'll, like, be trying to talk to her about work things. Like, hey, you need to do this. And she's just like, one word. Barely glances at you. Sure. That's it. I'm like, I'm trying to have a conversation here with you. And it's hard for my ego not to get involved and be like,
Sure.
well, bitch, you should, you know what I mean? Do you know who I?
Yeah.
It's really hard to not take that offensively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I end up having to call my sponsor at least once a week to be like, dude, I got to talk this out. Because I feel like I'm going to choke this person.
Yeah.
It's difficult, so even, with a lifetime of working around people, absolutely everything changed once when Jacob was like, hey man, you want to run the place that, that I am now. First off, I freaked out, didn't even say anything. I just walked out for 2 hours and I came back and I was like, okay, thanks for even considering me.
Yep.
But I had no idea what was coming, and it's managing personalities. Like, free will is something else, man. There's nothing that can prepare you for, being in a management, position. At this point I've learned that, first things first, you're dealing with, human beings.
Yep.
So start there.
And that's what I have to do.
Yeah.
Because when I start thinking down that road, when my mind starts fantasizing about what I'm going to say to this person, then I know I'm in trouble. Like, well, like that's how I recognize that I'm experiencing fear in some way. It's like when I start, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like when I start subvocally going over rehearsing what I'm going to say, like I'm probably afraid of something. And that's my red flag that says like, I need to pause and like, what are my intentions here? Like, what am I actually feeling? Yeah. And meditation's been a huge instrument in me getting to this place of like actually paying attention to what's happening inside of me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because until I got clean, and even a while after I got clean, I never paid attention to like what I was actually feeling. I numbed everything for almost 2 decades. Like, so it's a challenge, but it does get easier with practice for sure.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like I don't struggle with the same things today that I did when I first got clean.
Right.
Thank God. I don't worry about drinking or using anymore. Like ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I work on my other addictions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether that's like food or gambling, women, shopping, whatever. I can abuse anything.
I think we should just spend like a couple minutes, because remember when we first got together, we talked a lot about this that evening at the Dome, right?
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Because so I think a lot of people don't know, just like, this whole concept of sobriety maintenance, right? It's very foreign, even to, like for a while, Aaron, didn't understand, like, until it happened. He'd be like, but that's not that person's, drug of choice. Why would they, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not possible, right? No.
Yeah.
People will use
whatever,
right? Yeah. Exactly. It's cross addiction.
Yep.
Is the term that is used to describe that whole situation, right? And for people that have decided to abstain from using, drugs, alcohol, whatever, it's not like you're exempt, right?
Right.
For example, we've got a bag of treats on the table right now.
Oh man.
Okay. It's got
sweet and salty popcorn.
Sweet and salty.
Yeah.
Kettle popcorn, right?
Told me it was healthy.
But it's skinny pop,
Yeah,
so it's healthy.
It has
only
the word
has
skinny in
56
it.
calories. It literally says guilt-free. No, I'm joking. It doesn't actually say that.
I was like,
gluten
wait,
free.
But
it's
Dawn and
close
I
enough.
have been over here like chowing the fuck down on this
Can't
stuff.
stop.
But I get it though.
Yeah.
Sugar, okay, is the most available drug and socially acceptable, right?
How about technology?
Well, there's technology now.
Video
so now,
games, social media.
right?
That it's geared. It's designed to release dopamine in your brain.
Absolutely. And I was trying to talk to him about this because I did the research.
That's why I don't do any more social media.
Yeah. I did not believe him until I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And then he started explaining to me like how some of the inner workings.
Yeah.
And I was like, they really do that? And he was
They
like,
have
"That's
algorithms
exactly what they do."
specifically
They have
designed.
scientists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
There's companies that's what they that's their business.
Yeah.
They come to you and they're like, we can increase your engagement and this and that.
Yeah.
And they just have this whole thing, down to a science.
That's how it all works. Like the video games, right?
Yeah,
On the
exactly.
cell phone.
Exactly.
How do I get somebody to play this for 4 hours straight?
Yeah.
But not, better than that, how do I get them to spend money?
Right,
and do
exactly.
it?
Yeah. And you
know
can
what I
see
mean?
it.
Yeah.
You can see how they work it. Yeah. Behavioral science is fascinating.
And so that's why currently my current struggle, right, is with constantly having to do something, Like I've experienced real serenity in this program where I've been like really at peace, right?
Yeah.
But right now I'm going through this phase where like I kind of feel like I have to always be doing something, and I like I'm disassociating in some ways, like after I get off work, and instead of doing something constructive or that I really want to do, you know, even if it's like reading a book or watching Netflix or playing a video game on the phone.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not meditating as much as I used to, or, like working towards that spiritual growth.
Gotcha.
And that's when we come back to like this sobriety maintenance. So there's 3 big keys. And I almost hate to say this because it's the one thing my sponsor always tells me. Asshole. Like sometimes I just want you to tell me what to do, all right? But he always asks me the same 3 things. There's 3 questions I have to ask myself. If I'm starting to feel funky, if I'm anxious, if I'm depressed, he's like, well, where am I failing in one of these 3 areas? Because it's usually one of them. So the 3 things that I have to do continuously to maintain this momentum in recovery, so I have to practice principles. I have to seek some sort of power that's greater than myself, whether you call that God or whatever. And then I have to help other people. And usually, like, if I'm anxious or depressed, I'm usually thinking about myself.
Right.
And I'm usually failing in one of those 3 areas.
Sure.
Sometimes I just wish he would tell me what to do instead of asking me, like, well,
Right.
have you been practicing principles?
That's our dude, right?
Well, we learn from,
Yeah. One.
it's in the same
particular-
tree.
It's in the tree. Right. Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say that sounds very
So familiar.
familiar. I've heard that so many times, but it's dead on.
100%.
It's absolutely dead on.
Yep.
If you really, look at that, you'll come to some conclusions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the fear-based thing, man.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I still deal with it I just had this sponsee who's, he challenges me intellectually, You know what I mean? And it's easy to let fear come into play. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
When like I'm trying to help this person like stop smoking crack, right?
Right,
Like your
yes.
life, I don't want to say like
Literally,
depends
it's not a joke.
Right. This is not a joke.
Yes.
Like I have agreed and have been honored enough to like try to take you through and give you what I was given. Right.
Right.
So like, I don't want to screw this up.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like your recovery isn't dependent upon me, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, like, so there's some fear that comes into play there. Especially when it comes, I mean, personal relationships, sexual relationships.
Right.
It's hard not to let that fear come in. And I am a big believer that I can't live in both love, a state of love and of fear at the same time.
That's interesting.
You know, I really do think that like I'm either living from a place of love or I'm living from a place of fear.
Yeah, you
And
can't do both.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
You know, our guys, so to speak, that taught us this program.
Right.
They'll tell the story about like the farmer planting seeds. Have you heard this one? So it's like, well, you know, the theory of exponential return, right?
Right.
So a farmer plants wheat seeds. You know, he knows he's going to get exponential in return. And he knows if he plants wheat, he's not going to get tomatoes back.
Right.
So I know if I plant seeds of fear, I'm going to get exponential fear in return.
Yeah.
And if I plant
Right.
seeds of love, I'll get exponential love in return.
And that's interesting because it's a spiritual principle.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, if you live by it, it works.
Yeah, but it's so
Like,
hard to
I know.
sometimes.
Like that's all that gentleman when I spoke with him years ago, that's what he said to me. He's like, it's not complicated. I live by spiritual principles and they work.
Yep.
Like
It's remembering to use those tools.
yes,
Right.
That's the struggle.
because we have. I know for me at least, I have this tendency to go right back into fear. Right. So then when I feel that fear, then I have to act, and usually that action, well, almost every time it doesn't work because it's a fear-based action.
And there's certain societal pressures, I think,
Mm-hmm.
that are geared towards causing fear.
Sure.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
whether it's social media or advertisement or, you know, any of these things. Like, you can't see a picture of a Calvin Klein model and not feel some sort of fear. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I don't look
as
like that.
as a man. Right, exactly. And that's what it's designed for. Same with women.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine like all these, you know, magazines and it's like you're supposed to look like this anorexic model from France.
Right.
And it's
Just
like, well,
airbrushed, yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, this
Right.
impossible idea of beauty.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It is so interesting. It's a little bit of a side note to go just if you're ever interested and go look at the ideal man and woman in like 1950 and then look at the ideal man and woman today and realize that nothing has changed except advertising and them knowing if they can make you fearful and if you don't look like this, then you will buy their thing so that you can look like this.
Yep.
Yeah. And for years, I think it started with women and now it's men too.
For
I
sure.
just think it's amazing when they show like the ideal guy of 1950 and I'm like, how much it's changed.
Really.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
You know, it's interesting because they do the same thing, but, you know, in different like continents and countries. And it's amazing how different the ideal, like what that person looks like is from country to country.
Right.
Yeah.
Like facial hair, like all these different things. It changes so much. Like even
Right, what is
amount
that?
of weight that they're carrying.
Oh, sure.
In
What's
other
the ideal
countries.
man in Canada, right?
Well, and that's you know, the ideal man in the 1950.
He's husky. He's got a beard. He's
Denim.
wearing flannel.
Flannel, yeah.
Flannel.
Flannel.
obviously.
Okay,
Yeah.
No,
gotcha.
Right.
that's
You don't-
the guy in
It's
the
not
50s.
a Calvin Klein model.
No, in
No.
America it used to be that way.
Yeah, Paul
It was,
Bunyan.
yeah, it was a big guy, big barrel chest. He didn't have
Yeah.
to have ripped abs. That was like ridiculous. He had been underfed, but he had big arms. He was a big guy, you know, and definitely not the Calvin Klein, you know, perfectly, you know, shaped and
Chiseled.
0.3% body fat.
Right,
you know?
right.
And nothing has changed except advertising. And I think again we're running up against that deal where we're trying to live out this program and dealing with the world that absolutely is not. And especially when it comes to the pressures of just going out and enjoying yourself. Like I want to buy a new pair of underwear. I don't necessarily want to feel the fear of, well, when I put it on, I'm not going to look like that guy. But we have to deal with that. Like that's the world that we live in, you know, accepting life on life's terms and yet not compromising our program and refusing to live in that fear. And that's where it gets interesting because that's long-term sobriety in my opinion.
Yeah, when I'm okay with who I am and how I look, and you know what I mean? Like, finding a sense of self is a really important part of recovery. You know, I get to choose who I want to be from here on out. You know, and that's going to change, right? My ideas are going to change, like, and I have to be willing to adapt and go with it. But, like, when I'm feeling whole, I'm not looking outside of myself for fulfillment.
Absolutely.
You know, and then I don't care what the Calvin Klein model looks like. I can laugh at that. Be like, is that what you think a real man looks like? You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. Or even not just, I know for me, like realizing, if some woman looks at me and doesn't find me attractive enough, that's okay. Like if she's looking for the Calvin Klein model, go find him.
The courage to be disliked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go find him, right? Because I think for years, even like you said, we deadened the feeling and you had fear, you didn't feel good enough. I was the same way. And when I was using or drinking or whatever, it took that away. And then once that was gone, that was what I had to relearn, was how to exist in the world. That's why they say, for people who aren't in recovery, it's generally suggested that you not get into a relationship for a year. And I didn't understand that for a long time until I realized, okay, so what would happen if this person I really liked was just like, no thanks, right? Because you can so easily get that self-affirmation in another way. So now I don't drink anymore, but every time, if she just says she likes me, or if this person wants me to be their friend, then I feel good about myself.
Yep.
And like you said, anything external to ourselves.
I did it when I first got clean. I got into a relationship pretty much right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that comes down to too that, which I still do today, is the if only thens. So like, if only this would work out, then I would be okay.
Yeah.
If only I could have a relationship, if only I could have a better job, if only I had a different degree, if only these things happened, then I would be okay. But the thing is that you're never going to take something external to feel okay.
Yes.
Which is something that we are programmed with addiction. And so you get this and you feel okay. Yep. And then you want more, and then you want more, and then you want more. You know, so the fact that I can just be okay today is one of the hardest lessons, I think, for me to learn, is that nothing external is going to make me okay. No matter what, like through my development as a person, through my higher power, through things like that, like that's what makes me okay. And I can have that anywhere at any time. Yeah. You know, and I almost like when I look at, you know, Instagram now or what the ideal of beauty is, like I don't ever want to look like that. Like it doesn't look okay to me. You know, like everybody kind of looks the same, and it's the weird lips and the skinny nose and too much makeup. And to me, I'm not like, oh, if only I could look like that, I would be okay. So I'm glad that I am okay with what this is, because if I go down that road, it's going to be more and more and more and more.
Yep. And it's never satisfying.
Right.
Even when I do reach something.
Right.
You know, it's like, well, if I just got this promotion, I'd be okay.
Right.
And then I get the promotion.
And
within a week,
else.
not even a week, a day, 2 days, I'm like, okay, well, now that rush is gone, and you know, now I'm miserable again.
Right. Or I
so
hate this
next?
promotion. It's too much work. Why did I ever want it?
Exactly.
That's always mine.
Yep.
Wanting something really bad and then complaining when I get it.
Oh, yeah. So true.
So I have a question.
Please.
So the Rubik's Cube.
Oh, man. The Rubik's Cube. Have you heard it from your guy?
No.
Okay.
Or I don't remember.
Okay. So the idea of the Rubik's Cube, if you think about the Rubik's Cube, each side, like each color, represents like a different aspect of my life, right? So like the white side is my finances, the red side is work, and blue is health, whatever you want to call it, right? And I've never been able to get all of them lined up just right. And I feel like I spend all of my time just trying to get like one side correct, that the rest of them just go to shit. You know, I'll spend all of my time and energy on getting like the girlfriend just right. But meanwhile, like my finances and my health go down the toilet. Right. Or like whatever it is. And I've never been able to successfully manage my Rubik's Cube. And so my sponsor tells me, he says, you know, the only way that has worked for him is if he puts his Rubik's Cube down and helps somebody else with theirs. And I always really liked that, because I mean, I could resonate with, you know, not being able to balance all these different aspects of life, you know?
Right.
And he said, when I set mine down and help somebody else with theirs, like something happens and a few pieces move, whether that's God or higher power, whatever you want to call it. Like when I help somebody else with their life, somehow my life gets better. And that's been my experience. When I'm feeling the best is typically after I've spent some time with a sponsee, and like this connection is there. So that's the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, so I've heard that, said just in a different way, right? They say if you want to get something, help other people achieve, that thing. If there's something you're really looking to get, help other people get it, right? And it'll happen for you. And yeah, I mean, basically what you're saying, but I love that, the way you said it though.
Yeah. It's a powerful metaphor.
Yeah. I love that.
And now I actually try to do real Rubik's Cubes, but
I saw you.
Literally and figuratively, I cannot make it work.
No.
It's tricky. I was a lot better at it when I was a kid. For whatever reason, man. Sure. I was jacking those things up, man.
Really?
I was
Could you
good,
really do it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I've ever done
I used to take the stickers off.
That's what I was about to say.
Make it right.
That's
if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough.
Right. I don't have time for this.
Right. Just give me the stickers. I did it.
That's funny.
That is interesting.
So the Rubik's Cube. What else was there? Let me see. So spirituality. What does that look like for you now? Because we've heard of the Genesis. Started atheist, ended up in Catholic school, decided that was going to be, what it ended up being. Where you at now? Because obviously you have, you have a spiritual life, right?
Yep. And it's always changing.
Yeah.
And I have to be okay with that. Like when I first got clean, they suggest that you say these prayers and this and that, but getting on my knees and praying to some white dude in the sky with a beard never felt like I was being true to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that you specified that it was white Jesus that you were praying to.
Well, I went to Catholic school, man.
Yes.
Hey, I get it.
There's the dove, there's Jesus, and then there's the big bearded guy, right?
Yeah. The people on the stained glass, right?
The Trinity.
Yeah, we've seen them. Yeah.
And but I didn't. So I just did what I had learned how to do. You know what I mean? And I pretty much just did what I was told. And but I also started reading right when I got clean, and I hadn't read a book in 10 years.
Okay.
I think I maybe read one book in high school. I just cheated the rest of the way through. And, I got this incredible appetite for learning. And so I started researching all these different religions and spirituality, and the ones that I've, connected with the most is probably closer to Buddhism. This idea that there is some, consciousness or energy that connects all living things.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what resonates the most with me. Now, how do I make that work in this program? Is a question, and it's something that is constantly evolving, right?
Yeah.
Is figuring out. The biggest thing is just you have to believe in something that's greater than yourself. I can't be the end all be all. That's been an important thing for me. I still struggle with the idea of fate, because it doesn't make sense with my experience and this free will that we have, right?
It's interesting.
I don't believe in like I said, the white dude in the sky that's playing each of our lives exactly the way that they're supposed to be.
Right.
But I also feel that there's this connection, that I've experienced that's undeniable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That there's some force that's working in my life that I've been able to tap into somewhat. And it's important for me not just to give away this energy. I have a tendency just to focus on giving it to other people. And I forget that in order to give it, I have to get some of this energy. So I have to maintain this connection, to whatever this higher power is. And I don't even think I'm supposed to know what it is. I think if I was supposed to know, then I would know. Whatever it is, it's working. And so as long as that's happening, I'll keep, doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I find that to be a common theme.
Yeah.
That the idea that I must definitely know that this is what it is, for sure, I think it seems to go away for people. I don't really understand it myself, but that need to nail it down and to have it white and black goes away. And just this sense of there is something and it's working my life is now a miracle. Mm-hmm. So let's just go in that direction.
Yep.
And learn.
I don't need to intellectually understand what this is.
Exactly.
Because I learned that like there's a difference between intellectually working this program and actually putting it into practice.
Right.
Like I can answer these questions in the step work and I can, fill out this stuff. But if I'm not actually practicing it, then it doesn't do anything for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. The experience is completely different because, just for example, Aaron and I were working to start this, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we watched countless hours and, reading stuff, and this guy reads fast. Okay. So, I mean, so we went through a lot of this different stuff, right? But none of it compares to actually being in it and doing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the experience is absolutely completely different. The learning experience is much richer.
Yep.
When you're in it, doing it. So,
there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
The journey is the destination.
Oh, here we go. Dawn, you have one?
You got one? Come on.
I don't have one. I wish I did, though.
Me neither. I don't know what I started.
I feel behind.
Man, I was just quoting The Matrix because I watched it the other day. Like, you guys are getting all sort of philosophical and shit.
That's this guy. Him
and I, we wax philosophical all the time. I dig it.
Yeah, we have a good
I
time.
learned a new word for that. Cogitate.
Oh,
Cogitate.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes.
Some good cogitation and bad cogitation.
Yeah.
You don't want to cogitate too much because then you end up thinking, oh no. And then you just want to cogitate enough to be like, all right, this is okay.
Yeah. So looking at your notes, I mean, we're definitely not, we don't need to like rush, but
lack of material.
I mean, we should have just brought our jammies because we could be here, for the rest of the evening.
We still got to go to Tom's Diner, man.
Dude, you really want an omelet? All right, no, that's definitely happening.
They promised.
That's where we're headed.
There will be an omelet.
That's where we're headed. The extravagant. I wonder what cook it is, man. I like the way the experience has changed
every time you go in.
Yeah,
it's a little bit different.
Recently, yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Last week it was spectacular,
right?
Yeah,
dude, remember that that time the potatoes were just crap, man.
Yeah, we were like, what's going on back there?
And I wonder if that dude ended up leaving because since then it's just been varying degrees of good.
And the experiences you get, like with the people that are there or in the parking lot, are priceless.
Oh yeah,
do you remember the last time we were there?
Yeah,
it was like there are 3 drug deals going on simultaneously right now.
Dude, I love that. I saw one. There was 2 others that I had no idea what was going on, and you were like, "Man,
I'm like a hawk. I will pick out a drug deal anywhere."
Yes. For those of you that don't have any friends in recovery, I suggest that you get at least 1 or 2 because your life becomes really interesting. Because I was still a relatively innocent guy, even though I'd done all this other stuff, right? Because I just had people do it for me. But then when you were with people who were in it, who did it, who participated, and Adrian will do this occasionally too, and he'll be like, just spot something going on, and I'm just like oblivious. But it makes life a little more interesting when you realize how much, drug use and drug dealing is actually occurring everywhere.
Dude,
everywhere.
You're a seasoned vet now, though.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Now I'm no longer a babe.
I would make the best narcotics officer in the world.
You gotta get
second career, man. No, don't. I don't think that's how that works.
It's like when our buddy.
They wouldn't take me anyways. They're like, wait a minute, you used to be a junkie?
Yeah. No, we're not leaving you in charge of the evidence room.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
But it's so funny. We have a mutual friend, Locke. And when he worked at the Phoenix, like having him search rooms.
Oh yeah,
he's an MP.
My God,
he's an MP.
Man.
It was great.
Yeah.
He knew exactly.
He'll find anything. Dude worked at Guantanamo Bay for 9 months.
I know, right? Dude's in there peeling paint and stuff, just peeling it back.
Exactly. I'm finding shit that like terrorists were doing like down in Guantanamo.
Yeah, seriously.
You think some like silly attic kids that are 22-year-olds are going to get some shit past
cookies?
me?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
No way.
I was so glad because I left to go back to Africa, and that's when Locke, started working there. And
I was brand new.
He was brand new. This guy was too busy putting up lamps. Locke was trying to, keep things on lock.
Yep.
Was great.
I was so happy that,
was Ian there?
He was there. Ian was there too.
So Bob was already gone.
Yes. Oh, yeah. The transition was rather smooth.
Really?
He came in and Rob left.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was actually the reason.
Yes.
that I
very much so.
Was able to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
It was very interesting. It was an interesting time because he had to leave almost immediately upon training me. And yeah, so I worked days and I had free time. It was a funny little aside.
What he thought was free time.
What I thought was free time. Now I'm busy, right? Because they trained me on everything. I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, paperwork and the computer system. But nobody even gave me a password to the main system that we use. Nobody expected me to do anything. So I just went down to the basement and I saw all these lamps. And I'm like, man, you know what we should do? We should put all of these lamps in the main room. And so it looked kind of nice in there. You walked in, it was all like soft lighting. It was fantastic. Adrian comes back and he's like, hey man, this is fantastic. You know, if we were about to play some pool or if we were having a poker tournament.
Dude, seriously.
However, this is a rehabilitation facility.
I can barely see people
We
in
need
there.
to be able to see their eyes, you know?
I mean, I was half expecting
There
to
are
hear
things-
Velvet Fog, and there's just people standing in zoot suits, just going.
Yeah, we could have had a
There's more
band in
important
there.
things going on here than ambiance, Aaron.
Exactly.
Right?
But it's
How about you stop smoking crack? Okay? And not worry about the fucking lighting.
it was so funny, but that's back when I believed, you know, I'm like, all these guys want to get sober, and then you just don't know until you know. It's like that thing. You can read about it, you can watch it, you can look at it, but until you live the life, you don't really understand it. And that growth process has been a lot of fun for me because it's enabled me to be in uncomfortable situations that used to really upset me. You can't be a people pleaser and run a rehabilitation facility. You just can't do it. Those people will end up worse than when they came in because all you're telling them is what they want to hear.
Yep.
And that has to end. And people were kind enough to do it for me.
Yep.
And you had to realize that, you know, I had to grow as a person. And so even this, you know, living life doing this has been a part of my sobriety maintenance. And it's been fantastic, you know, because it added something to me that I didn't have before. Kind of like, you know, what you're saying, how, you know, being a manager and not living that life. Because I wanted to go back to that just for a minute. Because one thing that I heard that you did, you were willing to give up. Like you'd been a tattoo artist for a decade. And you were like, you know what? If that's going to interfere with me being sober, which in my mind it is, then I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
And having that kind of courage, like it's a platitude that you hear, people, places, things. But you hear so many people, they want to get sober, they want to get clean, but they're not willing to give up some things in their life that aren't going to coexist with their sobriety. And so, cause that was me for years. If I just had this thing, if I just had this and this, I could totally be sober. But that was never it, right?
Yep.
And having that courage that's part of your story is amazing because I can gather that you were probably a really good artist in general. And
I was all right.
Yeah, you know, but just having that courage, you know, to be like, I want to be sober and I want to live a different life. And so I'm not going to talk to those same people. I'm not going to do the same things.
Yep.
Because I see so many people that make that mistake.
But it's a gradual process too.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like these things that I will slowly realize that I need to get away from or that I need to do differently. You
Right.
know? Like, what's a good example? Like even just how I interact with like the guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's certain types of people that I just don't, you know, spend time with anymore that like I probably would have if I didn't get clean, you know? Where do I want to spend my time? You know, what kind of life do I want to have? But I also can't like get ahead of myself and thinking too far down the road.
Right.
You know, I really like that book, Power of Now, by the way.
That's a good book.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got into it?
Yeah, I'm really into it now. Yeah, because like when I'm okay in this present moment, you know, and I'm not thinking about the past or the future, which only exist in my mind. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like the
It's not a
amount
real thing.
of peace and happiness that I can find there is astounding.
Right.
Yeah.
But it takes practice to get there.
Yes.
You know?
I find it to be a simple solution. I have this deal where I forget things. And I've come to realize just recently that the reason I forget them is because I'm not here now.
Not present.
I'm off somewhere else in my brain, and then I don't pay attention to what I'm doing right then. And it's all about staying in that present moment.
Yep.
Yeah. Somebody will tell me their name, and as soon as they get done saying it, I won't even have any idea what they said.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I heard your name and forgot. Like I just didn't even listen to your name because my head is so many different places.
Yeah.
You know, and to be able to be present in the moment and pay attention to what's going on now instead of, and you know, when I'm in my head, for me, it's always selfish. It's always something about me or worrying about the past or being afraid or me. You know, we were talking about that. And so if I can listen to you and look at you and be a person that wants to hear what you have to say instead of sitting there thinking about what I'm going to say next or how this is going to go.
Yeah.
And be present with other individuals is such a challenge.
Oh, sure.
You know, especially for alcoholics and addicts who live this very selfish life for so long, you know, and I think other people too. I don't think it's just us.
No.
You know, I can, I can go places and like not remember driving there dead sober just because I'm so thinking in my head.
Yeah.
You know, and that's always about me. That's not about, I'm not obsessing over how good your day's going. You know, I'm just like me, I can't believe I said that, or what is this going to look like, or
Sure. Yeah.
you know, and it's such an interesting thing to get to a point where you also get to realize that, you know, like that idea of my troubles are of my own making. My difficulties are me. I was like, when I first heard that, I was like, no way. Like, you guys have been out there, right? Like, this is not my fault. Yep. But it is. It's very much in how I react.
Yeah.
And if I'm in my head and I'm thinking about myself and I'm afraid or I'm selfish or dishonest or whatever it is, you know, then that's where my troubles lie. You know, all of my anger comes from some kind of fear. All of my uncomfortableness comes from something that I'm lacking.
Yeah. Right. Thinking about me.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Right.
So true. Which is why they always recommend, you know, go find somebody to help.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Number one way to get outside of self.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, is there anything you'd like to say, you know, in closing? I mean, I have a quick question. So you just talked about the Eckhart Tolle book that, you know, Dawn suggested last time.
Yeah.
Or recommended. The Power of Now. Excellent book. I still haven't finished it. I was reading to the audiobook. Is there any book you would like to recommend? Because I made a note of, you specified when you were exploring the spirituality piece that you read some books, you know, that were helpful. And it's coincidentally, we have an episode coming up with my best friend, the White Shark, aka Big Dog, aka Jacob.
Yeah.
He's actually going to be, you know, in here talking about that piece.
About that, yeah.
The episode's really going to be about people, like, you know, is there a space, you know, for people in, in the world that we live in, right? In recovery, perhaps even in 12-step, right? For people that have alternative beliefs or don't believe in, you know, much of anything.
Sure.
You know, so, you know, what's their place and how do they, you know, go through the process, right?
Sure.
So we're going to discuss that. But for you, what were those books? Or can you recommend maybe a couple?
Yeah, the first two books that I read that were really instrumental. One of them Darren gave to me. Actually, I think both of them came from Darren.
Interesting.
I know. That's my dog. So The Four Agreements was the first one.
I'll co-sign that one.
Book's
Love
been
that book.
stalking me. I keep hearing about it.
You haven't read it yet?
I read it when I was drinking, and I
you need to
hated
read
it
it
so
again.
much.
It's out there.
You probably would then.
I hated it. It was the dumbest thing I've ever put my eyes on.
It's a little bit out there.
But you're
at
like
first.
the 15th person in 2 weeks that have said that book name
All
to
right,
me. I think I need to get it. Yeah.
You do. I just bought it for some dude the other day. Actually at Phoenix. Anyways, the second book was Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. And that's all about like vulnerability, shame.
Yeah. She came up last week.
Yeah. So, I mean, they showed like a YouTube video of her, like her TED talk when we were in rehab, and somebody recommended the book, and it was really instrumental in realizing that like being vulnerable does not equal weakness, which is something I had always held on to, that belief.
Exactly.
You know? That it's okay to, you know, say whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So those would be my two choices, man.
Those are both great.
I mean, I've read dozens and dozens since then.
Right.
Radical Self-Acceptance by Tara Brach is another really, really good one. That's pretty heavy on like the Buddhist meditation side.
Yeah, it is. But it's powerful.
Super powerful.
I just smacked so loud and I thought about you when you're editing.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Dude, I
For
caught
our
that one.
listeners, if you hear any smacks, that's where I was not paying attention, like we just talked about. I was like listening and editing, and I was off in another world.
Oh my goodness,
Yep.
dude.
He smacks, I cough. Or
Yo,
clear. Yeah.
You
I
all
had
smack.
no
I hear
idea.
every time anybody smacks now.
Apparently people
Including
smack
myself.
a lot.
Yeah, you don't even know it.
Yeah.
It's how people. Like, it's when you start a sentence, you know. Anyway, and
Yeah.
it just happens. I'll leave that one in there for example. But
Yeah.
no, it's okay.
But so
No,
so
other
make-
than that,
yeah.
I think I'm good, man. I think we've kind of covered just about everything. Thanks for inviting me out, man. I really had a good time doing this.
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure. If anything, the worst thing about this is I haven't figured out how I'm going to have you and Dawn back yet, but we'll figure this out
Oh yeah,
somehow.
this has to happen.
Yeah. And by then, I'll have figured out how to get Skinny Pop to sponsor us. So you guys,
To teach
Pop for
one.
life.
Brought to you by Skinny Pop.
Seriously, Skinny Pop?
it's called Skinny Pop, man.
Yeah.
The sweet and salty kettle,
Well, here's the thing.
it's like crack.
I believe Dawn spoke of the alternative. This is Skinny Pop. How many, if we looked at the bag of whatever it was you were munching on the other night, you said, like with your eyes closed.
Yeah, like sleep eating.
That one's probably got like 50 grams of added sugar and all that. It was caramel pop, right?
It was caramel corn, yeah, with cashews. It was poppycock.
It was
Yeah.
great product.
Enter joke
Not
here.
healthy. Not,
Cashews in it. I mean, cashews are good.
oh, that's
for you,
true.
right?
That's
Yeah,
true. Good
yeah.
fats.
Yeah.
Good
Not when
fats.
they're
Yeah,
coated
it's
in
cashews.
sugar. Yeah. I'm just going to drizzle
Practically
like
a
brown
salad.
sugar
Yeah.
and honey and maple syrup. And, no. The fats are what makes this okay. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
Practically
it's
a
not-
salad.
I used to have
cashews.
this argument that was because I was an alcoholic, which is basically a sugar, that my body just reacted to sugar differently. So it didn't really affect me like it affected other people because, alcohol being a sugar affects me differently. So y'all just don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I put on like 40 pounds.
Yeah.
When I first got sober, I lived across the street from this little, it was like a little party store, like corner shop that was open till 2:00 in the morning. And I would be in there every night buying candy. And so like I got to know the guy that worked there. Like I'd wake up and go out and get some candy and come back. And I was holding up like a Twix bar or something. And I was like, hey, Jeff, do you guys only have like the small Twix bars? And he's like, Dawn, that is a regular sized Twix bar. Like, that's what a normal person eats. Like, that's not the small. That's not the fun size. Listen, Jeff, I feel a little judgment in your voice right now.
I don't like your judgy tone.
I don't like your
There's
tone,
other
Jeff.
stores, Jeff.
That's right. I don't have to come here and spend my hard-earned money.
Man, yeah. So this
It's
is
been
Like,
fun.
my experience tells me that you do have to come here. 'Cause otherwise you wouldn't every single fucking night.
It'd be like buying booze. I'd go to different stores.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, we didn't even get into that, but yes, we've
Yeah,
all
I know
done
that. Yeah, that reminds me of something.
I like to wait till 5 minutes after 8, so they didn't think I was an alcoholic.
Yep. and then go into just fly straight into this whole like explanation how you just got off your night shift.
Oh, working
Yes.
nights.
No,
Oh yes.
it's for a
Yeah.
party at work.
Yeah,
You know
no, I'm
what
not
I
gonna
mean?
drink this for hours.
Hours.
Oh, but
Meanwhile, you're sitting in the car in the parking lot still.
And taking a couple swigs because
you had to.
like a few minutes ago you were dry heaving in that parking lot.
Yeah. How am I supposed to drive home if I'm in DTs?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly,
That's
officer.
dangerous.
Yeah, I could have a
officer, I
seizure.
needed
Yes.
to. Yeah, you don't want me to do that.
Right.
Oh man, those weren't the days.
I don't miss that.
These are the days.
Yep.
No way to go through.
For me,
this
it was
life.
more. It wasn't the liquor store. It was like waiting for the dope man.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he's 3 hours late the whole time. You're sick and just. Oh, that bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those Hondurans, I swear. I'm sorry, Honduras.
Not all of them.
No,
Yeah,
no.
just those particular ones.
Yep.
No, we love Honduras.
Yeah. No, it's been really good to have you guys here.
Yeah,
It's
thank you so
Absolutely,
much for
absolutely.
having
been
us.
a
Yeah, thank you for
fantastic
having us.
episode. Yeah.
Generally so grateful. You guys were very generous. To come and offer your. I know it's going to sound so cliche, but your experience, strength, and hope.
That's what it's
But that's
about.
what it is. That's what we did. Because there's people out there that will definitely benefit from this because.
I hope so.
Some of the people that listen to this will have no insight into this world, right? And that's part of the reason why we're doing this, to educate people so they kind of have something, to go on. So thank you so much for coming and doing this with us. like I said, we'll figure out a way to do this again. Until then, we're going to close this episode off. If you'd like to listen to Dawn's episode, please go to our website, www.2teachone.com. That's www.2teach1.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at TWOTEACHONE, and on YouTube at the same handle. And soon enough, we're going to be having some videos. Yeah. We'll let you know when that happens. Thank you for all the support.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Until next time, we're out.